Okay, so good morning everyone. I'm Saksham from Pembroke College, and today me and Pablo we are going to present something interesting. So this is the first time we are organizing journal club, so we are very excited about it. So Pablo is first year PhD student in Pembroke College in philosophy of Department of Philosophy, and today he's going to talk about something very interesting, which is why do humans reason? And the best part of Pablo and the talk today is that I just told him 2 hours before the event that, bro, can you present? Because one of my friends she ditched yesterday night saying that she has some other friend.
Live.
Yeah, because yeah. Anyways, so anyways, over to Pablo.
Thank you. Thanks, section. This was great. This was an interesting challenge to try and prepare it so quickly, but it's fine. I mean, I didn't understand everything completely in the paper. Hopefully, you guys can help me out. The paper is by Hugo Mercier and Dan Sperber, two researchers at that time. They were in Paris, and they're kind of at the intersection between philosophy and cognitive science. So this is a leading article in a journal called Behavioral and Brain Sciences, which they do this thing. They have like one lead article, and then they have massive like peer comments, so that many people commenting underneath. And this was the leading article in 2013 issue. So it was kind of a big thing. Wait, I need to take this a bit closer to me, otherwise I don't really get it. I hope that's fine. Yeah, and the themes are outside. So now we have 10 past 11. I need to go at 12 at least, and I want to see sections talk. So I think I try to keep it rather brief. The main question that they have is why do humans reason? This is kind of the starting question. Wait a minute, this doesn't work at all. Anyways, because where do I need to be? Ah, here. Okay, this would be where. This would.
I mean, onto the board.
Yeah. But look, you know that. Yeah. And you know, the question is why do humans reason? And reasoning, they understand reasoning as the production of new mental representations from existing mental representations when these mental representations are consciously entertained. So the idea is like, they have like many examples, but one thing that they do is they understand inference as exactly this. Inference is like you have an existing set of mental representations and you produce a new set of mental representations. Okay? For instance, that could be previous beliefs and then you form new beliefs. Right? So this would be kind of the classic idea of an argument or of logical reasoning, for instance, if you think that. We are now in Pembroke College, which means that we are more eastwards than Downing College, right?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So I never thought about whether we were east or west or north or south from Downing College, right? But from my existing beliefs, namely that we are in Pembroke College right now, that Pembroke College is located in a specific position on a map, and that Downing College is located in a specific position on the map. These were all beliefs of mine, right? And from those beliefs, I could infer that we are more eastward than Downing College.
Yeah.
No, westward, right?
I mean, it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't matter. Let's try to do that.
Westward, right? So
Pembroke College is here, right? And Downing College is somewhere here, no? And this would be the compass, no?
But east and west are complementary, so they can be even also match each other. So you need to be
right, but are we more? So what is our related position to Downing College? More eastward or more westward?
I think slightly north.
Slightly north.
Slightly north.
And going to
slightly north is eastward.
Okay. I think it's northwest, isn't it? Because it's north, east,
northwest. Yeah, sorry, northwest.
Northwest. Okay. Yeah. So this seems to be part of our reasoning, right? This compass. The belief that we know how the compass looks like. This map also seems to be part of our reasoning, right? That we know how Cambridge looks like. So if we want to call this belief 1, we call this belief 2, and from belief 1 and belief 2, we reason belief 3, namely that Pembroke College is northwest to Downing College, right? We never thought about that before. I at least didn't. I don't think you guys did. So we could make an inference from pre-existing beliefs of ours and produce a new belief. And if we consciously entertain the premises and to conclusion, then this is what they call reasoning. Because, often in our lives we make inferences, so we produce new mental representations without consciously entertaining them. Right? So if I'm walking, maybe there's some kind of visual representation of my surroundings, which then leads me to produce certain motor inputs to, I don't know, walk around the chair or avoid bumping into the chair. But that's not on the conscious level. But for them, these are also inferences. But what is reasoning is really this kind of consciously entertained process. And now there's a puzzle. The puzzle is that cognitive psychology, behavioral economics, social psychology have found much evidence that we are really bad at doing this. In the sense that many of our inferences are flawed, meaning they have some kind of logical fallacy, or they have some kind of bias, or stuff like that. Let me give you an example. So this is called the Wason selection puzzle. And now you need to engage in some more reasoning with me. So imagine you have 4 cards in front of you. And on the first card, there is a 4, then there is an E, then there is a 7, and then there is a K. And now there is a certain rule, a proposed rule. And this rule is as follows. If there is a vowel on the card, then there is an even number on the other side. So you imagine that all of these cards, on the back of those cards, there is also a number or a letter. And now this is the proposed rule. If there is a vowel on the card, so if there is a vowel on the front side, right, then there is an even number on the other side. Now your task is to determine whether this rule is true or not of this set of cards. But you can only turn 2 cards. Which 2 cards do you choose to confirm or disconfirm this rule? And you? Yeah. The same. Okay. So let's say you turn a 4. If on the back it's a vowel, what does it mean?
Maybe chance for the second card to occur, the number on the other side is more likely, at least given the first card.
Right, because we assume this, we observe this association.
Yeah.
That's right. It might make it more likely in the sense of that there's some kind of regularity in the way that these cards are produced. That's right. It doesn't necessarily prove or disprove the rule, though, right? Because if there's a vowel on it, then it proves the opposite of what the rule is saying, right? Now, if there's a consonant on it, it doesn't conflict with the rule at all, because the rule only said that if there's a vowel, then it needs to be an even number. It didn't say the opposite. So it didn't say if there's an even number, there needs to be a vowel. So if this is a K, or if this is a, I don't know, a C or a B on the other side, it doesn't disprove the rule. If it's a vowel, then it doesn't prove it either. It simply confirms it, right? So it's one more instance in favor, but we can't really be sure. So this was the first one. Now if we turn the second one seems to be decisive, right? So because what happens if it's an odd number?
Yeah, then this is false.
Then it's false. And if it's an even number, it's confirmed, right?
Yeah.
So we have 2 instances which are able to confirm it, but we have none which is able to disconfirm it.
Yeah.
So simply turning those 2 won't tell us whether this is true or not. So the correct answer is to turn this one and this one, the 2 decisive options. Because if this one is a vowel, then it's false. If this one is a vowel, then it's false.
Which one is the rule?
Right. So the thing, this is a bit complicated. I had to look it up this morning as well because I didn't get it. But the idea is that when we read this rule, we have two things that are very salient, vowel and even number. And the saliency of these two rules leads us immediately to choose those two.
Yeah.
Because the same happens
Yeah.
if you put a not here. So if you flip the rule around, people will still choose those two because they're very salient. The correct ones, however, would be those two.
Yeah.
Okay. So what? And there are a plethora of things like that, where we're really bad at logical reasoning. So, and this just raises the pause, and there's a lot of evidence for this. There's a lot of evidence. And this just raises the puzzle that if we're so bad at doing this reasoning, why do we even have it? So this is an evolutionary puzzle. It seems that the evidence suggests that we're really bad at reasoning. Why did we evolve this function? And the standard explanation, namely that reasoning leads us to accurate beliefs, is falsified by this evidence. Or that's what they say. So they say it can't be that reasoning leads us to accurate beliefs because the evidence just suggests that it actually doesn't. So there needs to be some other function. Go for it.
The thing is, I mean, to reach to the truth, to reach to the accurate reasoning, you have to start with an intuition, which could be false. You can't directly reach to the truth.
100 points per section. That's what they say as well. And they say the problem is when we reason alone, we never go beyond this intuition. So we have a certain intuition, and then we reason about it, and then we just say something. But if we reason collectively, so if there's a group, then we are much better at evaluating things. So if you do this in a group task, people get it right. If you do it in an individual task, people get it wrong. And their theory is that reasoning the function is really argumentative. The story is the following. Evolutionarily, there seems to be some advantage of having good information. And how do you tell whether an information that you receive is good or not? They propose two mechanisms. First one is trust. So is this a reliable source? Yes or no? Like your doctor or something like this. If you trust the person, then that's a good reason to accept what they're saying. The other mechanism is coherence checking. So if what they're saying is coherent, then that also can increase the likelihood that this is good information. And so you have an evolutionary advantage in trusting them. What that means, and for them, producing arguments, is a function that they say that also increases both of these things. So if I want people to believe me, one thing that I should do is produce arguments for them. And that gives me kind of that increases the chance that they will accept this information. And so they say this is the real function of reasoning. It is producing arguments to convince others of our opinions.
I see. So, okay.
And there could be an evolutionary advantage for that because with this we could increase the likelihood that other people trust us if we have relevant information.
So I think now it is heading towards from evolutionary to social cultural consonance. Because the thing is, if a person, let's say there is a model brain whose whole thesis, whose whole objective is to actually disprove all the propositions that one is saying. So when you go to this statement, there could be a brain which just wants to disprove it. So if that brain is only aiming to disprove it, then that brain will look for the.
That's right. That's right.
But that is something which is not a socio-cultural phenomenon.
Yeah.
Because if you are always disproving something,
yeah.
you are not part of the society.
I think you're right, Section, because there is evidence which shows that if you change this thing to make it as such that people are motivated to disprove it, then they get it.
I see.
So the thing is just what Mercer and Sperber say is that what we need a motivation to reason correctly. And being in a group, we get this motivation because we want to convince other people of our opinion. And then with this theory, they explain a lot of evidence like confirmation bias and like group reasoning and other stuff where our reasoning is kind of disconnected from logical rules or the rules of rationality.
Yeah, yeah.
So they have this very like social theory of reasoning that it's not accordance to kind of like the rules of rationality or logic, but instead it is um, driven by our goal to convince other people of our opinion.
Yeah, and also, I mean, from this very nice thought experiment, I can even see like the philosophy of science here, because what happens in science in when people do experiments and do theory is that uh, there's this Karl Popper's theory that there's never a theory which will explain all the experiments. There would always be certain experiments which would be unexplainable by the theory,
Right.
because theory has some limits.
Right.
So what happens in most of the science currently, or even in past, is that people only look for those experiments which are falling within the regime where the
Right.
theory works.
Right. And now, according to Mersenne Spielberg, that makes perfect sense. Because the function of reasoning is to confirm some of the beliefs that you have, because this is what it's designed for, right?
Yeah.
So if this is what it's designed for, then it would explain why people are so easy to jump to just see the evidence that confirms their beliefs.
Yes, yeah. And that leads to most of the time a bad science, because you're overlooking
That's right.
phenomena
That's right.
should be incorporated.
So that's right. So they say that the ideal setting is in a group where people are disagreeing, but they all have the common interest for truth.
Yeah.
That would produce the best outcomes for reasoning,
Yeah.
in the sense that they are the most accurate ones.
Yeah.
But I mean, their claim is really one about the function. And I mean, the question that we might discuss in the last 5 minutes now is kind of, what does their claim about the function really imply? So, because one thing that I'm wondering about is, what does it mean for possibility? So, does it mean that we cannot by ourselves reason correctly, so that we are only able to reason correctly in our group? Or that if we reason correctly by ourselves, it is merely by accident? So that's one thing that I'm wondering, or what you just said, right? So, and because the other thing that I'm not really sure about is, what is the relation to truth? Because they do say at some point, like, true opinions are more easily justifiable. So it's easier to find a good argument for a belief that's actually true. So it kind of seems to coincide with the notion of truth. But if that's really the case, then why aren't we back to their original claim, to the thing they wanted to attack, namely that our reasoning has the purpose of getting accurate beliefs?
So I have one question. So do you reason based on information or primarily based on belief?
In the sense that information is more correct, or like beliefs could be wrong.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think how they think about it is that information or facts are kind of something which is more out in the world, and then as soon as they're perceived by humans, they would trigger beliefs.
Yeah. Okay.
And of course, there could be that beliefs are triggered in a wrong way, right? That kind of, I see the evidence, but I misinterpret it, or that I just form beliefs on nothing really, or on evidence that's not relevant for me, right? Or on misleading evidence.
What was the puzzle I slightly lost in?
Yeah. Sorry, I got lost a bit too. So the puzzle that they're trying to solve is, how come we have this faculty of reason when we're so bad for it? What is the evolutionary role of reasoning? It cannot be accurate beliefs, because there's a lot of evidence which shows that we're really bad at arriving at accurate beliefs by engaging in reasoning. There's some evidence that shows that if we don't think about it, if we just let our unconscious do the work, we're better than if we consciously think about it.
No, that was it. This seems more like intuition. Like, you make your conscious based on your prior experiences.
Right.
So if you and me have very different prior experiences.
Yeah.
So our interpretation of the information will be very different, right?
Right.
So then how do you even reach the truth?
Yeah. That's definitely a question. But I think what they're interested in is, like, let's say, because in some sense your question is kind of asking, what is the standard, right? What is the standard for good reasoning?
Truth is always the big thing. Truth. How do you know if something is true?
Yeah.
You say it's true, but
Yeah. But you remember this rule from before?
Yeah.
Right. So yeah. Maybe I didn't explain it that well. Maybe I should look it up before. But there is one way. There's two cards you can turn, and if you choose the right cards, then you know for a fact whether this rule is true or not.
So in that case, you have rules.
Yeah.
But in our life, we have rules.
Okay. I like this point. I like this point a lot. But let's go back quickly. So in this case, we had the 4 cards, and we had the rule, and the question was, which cards do you need to turn to know for a fact whether the rule is right or wrong, right? Mm-hmm. So here we have a very well-defined question, and we have a problem, and there's one unique solution to it. Mm-hmm. And I think what you're saying is that in ordinary life, often there isn't, and I agree with you. The problem is that in these experiments, people set up tasks where there is one right solution, or they make people choose between 2 alternatives. This is in economics. So it's not just about beliefs, it's also about actions in some sense. And they make people choose, and the task is designed to mislead people to choose the option that will give them less money in the end. But they don't get it. And there again, the idea is there is a right answer, namely the one which gives you more money, right? But of course we can question, well, is that the standard we should accept, right? Or like these fallacies, of course, okay, here's the question is really well defined, right? But often these like logical reasoning fallacies, they are errors with respect to some standard of logic or some standard of rationality. And of course we can ask, what is the significance of those standards, right? How are these standards really so important for our ordinary life? So I think you're pointing at a very kind of deep question to this, because one theory of reasoning is that reasoning has the function to orient us towards these kind of eternal rules of reason. Or logic. And this seems to be disproved by the evidence, because we suck at it. So we need another function, right? And this is this being able to increase the value of your information in a social setting. Good, I will stop.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Cool.
Oh, really nice discussion on belief, reason, logic, rules. So I will pick the rules from this talk and talk about only rules in my talk, because rules has so much to do in science, in the modern science, in the science where people do computations and everything. So my slides are already online. So if you if you open the link of my website, I will send it to you.
Do you also present the slides, or we should look at them individually?
Individual. Okay. You have individual experience on the side. So I will, for the people who are online, if you go to the website, there is I've uploaded my PDF. Wait, I will send that in.
I can find it. Section. Oh no, this is just. Oh, you posted the Zoom link on Facebook.
Wait, let me send. I will. Should I send to you on WhatsApp?
Or can you send it on Telegram?
Yeah. Do you use Telegram, or is it a joke?
No.
I don't have Telegram.
It's okay, we can start.
You can actually use my phone. I can book it online.
Or where did you send it? WhatsApp or where?
WhatsApp.
Okay.
I'll send it to his.
Oh, you can look at his mobile.
Internet is.
So you don't have Telegram on the phone?
No.
Can you send it by email?
Yeah, I'll send it by email.
Sure.
Or your website, you said?
Yeah.
What's your website?
I've sent the link to you on WhatsApp.
No, internet is not working.
Sorry, because I don't have WhatsApp on the iPad. I will have
Okay. Have okay.
What? Okay. Okay. Cool. This is amazing. Would be good to have here, no? Sectiontrauma.com. No.
Oh, your internet is working.
Mine is not. Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay. That means I'm there.
Nice. Good. Then we find it. Yeah. Because then you showed, yes, and then you start. Okay. There we go. Yes.
Amazing.
Better, no? Yeah. Hilbert and Turing. Wow. Cool.
Okay. So back to 1928. We start from 1928. So Hilbert, a mathematician, he asked a question. The question was, is there an algorithm? Algorithm was not defined at that time, but is there a program or a function or something, a rule that considers a statement, a black box, which is something unknown, which considers the statement and answers yes or no? Now, within the axiomatic structure in which the statement would be defined, either the statement would be true or false. For example, 1 plus 2 is equal to 3. Under the axioms of Euclid postulates, this statement is true. But can you devise a program which can prove it, which can say yes or no, which can say that the answer is yes or no? So what happened was Turing and also Church on the other side, but Turing, he published a paper in 1935 and devised a machine, devised a structure called Turing Machine, in which he tried to answer this problem. So I will now explain what Turing Machine is. So what you see in this first slide is the image on the left side. The image is that of a Turing machine, which consists of a box. So if you see a box here, it is something which okay, poetically speaking, it is actually an artificial brain, and it has certain states. So you see the blocks A, B, C, D, which are going from left to right. So these are the states of the machine, and the machine has a writer, and it writes on a tape, which is called Turing tape, and the tape has symbols. Symbols could be 0, 1, 0, 1, so digital symbols. Now the thing is, this Turing machine can perform computation. So instead of doing mathematics, you can do computation. So for example, if you want to add 1 plus 1, if you want to add 1 plus 1, there is a program which can do that, and the program I have shown on the right hand side is that this program is to add numbers, and the way it works is, okay, so if you so what you do is that if you want to, let's say, add 1 plus 2, then you write 1 in the form of a binary symbol 1, and you write 2 as another binary symbol 1 1, and as a binary structure, and then you put a 0 in between to say that, okay, the numbers are separated, and you input them into the Turing machine on the tape, and then the Turing machine, depending on its state, will perform some actions. So here in the table you can see different states, state A, B, C, and it reads symbols 1 or 0. So initially the symbol that it reads is 1, and then what it would do is that it would rewrite 1 with 1 on the tape. So on the row with the state A and the symbol read 1, the numbers are, the symbols are 1 R A. So 1 means that the 1 number on the tape will be replaced by 1 again, and the tape would move right, and then the state would remain the same. And now the next symbol that it read is 0. And then when it reads 0, it will again go to right, but the state will be changed from A to B, because if you see the table row,
Okay.
you get the idea.
So
because we want to add and this.
So A is the output.
Yeah.
So it reads 1, it goes 1 to the right,
Yeah.
and then it outputs A.
Yeah.
And then 1 to the right is the 0, so then we go to the next, and so it reads the 0,
and then the state changes from A to B. So now when it reads 0, it replaces 0 with 1.
Okay, yeah.
And then again moves to the right.
Mm-hmm.
And the state changes from A to B.
Okay, yeah, okay.
So then
now we go to B, right?
Then you go to B.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So, and the next, so basically in here, 0 is replaced by 1.
Mm-hmm.
If you see the whiteboard, 0 is replaced by the 1.
Mm-hmm.
So then it again reads 1, but this time with the state B, not A.
Yes.
When it reads 1 with the state B,
yeah.
then it again moves to the right and rewrites 1 with 1 again.
Yes.
So now you get 1, 1, 1 basically. And now again when it reads 1 in the state B,
yeah.
It moves to the right. So the next symbol after this is 0 because you just want to add 1 and 2. So when it reads 0, then it moves to the left.
Yeah.
And then it moves to the goes to the state 0 and 0, and when it goes to goes to the state C, and in the state C, if it reads 0, then it means stop.
But sorry, so now I got it. So until it writes 1, it writes 1.
Yeah.
Goes 1 right here instead when stage B. Now it reads 0. So we reach the very end.
Yeah.
We're here. We're there.
Yeah.
Okay. And then it replaces 0 with 0. It goes to the left. Why does it go to the left? Because then we would be with the 1 again.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it 1 and then it puts 0 and then it stops.
And then it stops. So eventually what you get is 1, 1, 1, 0, 0, 0.
Yeah.
So that's how you get it.
And can I ask, so what is the program? Is this table the program?
Yeah, so program contains 3 things, 3 actions. The first action is writing or rewriting. The other action is change the state. And the third action is move left or right or stop.
But so this is a program so this table is the program.
Yeah, for addition only.
Only for addition of 1 plus 2, no?
No,
this is general addition.
This can work for any number, addition of like 1 million plus 1 million. Because in case of let's say number 15, you will write number 15 in the form of a binary digit. So 1, 1, 1, 0 or whatever it is. 1 plus 2 plus 4 plus 8. Yeah. 8 plus 4, 2, 1. 13. Yeah. Yeah.
And then you separate by 0 from the next number.
Yeah. And then if you want to write 17, then you will write again 1, 1, 1. So it will be 0, 0, 0, 1 and 1.
And the separating 0 is there in the middle?
Yeah.
How does the machine tell between a 0 that's part of the number and the separating 0?
No, it doesn't tell. You put it. You have devised the program in such a way that if there is a 0 in middle, machine doesn't know that it's performing addition. You are creating rules.
Yeah. But I mean, I understood that if you want to write 15 in binary code, you need to use zeros. But then if there are zeros, but what if one number ends with a 0 and then you have to separate the 0 and then you have the next number? How do you know that the middle 0 isn't part of the number?
So the thing is, if you have a number, it can't end with a 0. It doesn't make any sense.
I cannot end with a 0.
Yeah. Because it always has to end with 1.
Okay.
But if it ends with 0, it doesn't mean anything.
Right. Okay. So this is how the machine knows.
Yeah.
Knows
Yeah.
that there it will.
Yeah.
Separate the two numbers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's a good question actually, and I didn't think about it. Okay. So now one property of this machine is that, and one fundamental property is that, if you go to the next slide. So now people asked after, the question next was that, okay, Turing machine is out. But given an arbitrary program, so if given an arbitrary table that you saw before to add the addition, subtraction or whatever, can one determine if this program will finish running or continue to run forever? Like, will it stop? Like, can you determine beforehand that will it stop or not? And that's actually a very important question because the answer is there exists no algorithm, no program, or a function to determine that any arbitrary function or program will continue to run or stop. And the answer is by contradiction. Okay, so I will show how the contradiction works. Okay, so you have a program, and the question you are asking is, can you devise a program which can tell that, sorry, can you devise a program which will tell that all the programs uh, for the Turing machine will continue to run or stop? And stopping or continuing to run is something called a halting problem. So the question essentially is that can you devise an algorithm A which can solve this halting problem, where halting problem is to determine that for any arbitrary program will it continue to run or stop. So to say that there does not exist any such kind of program which can solve this halting problem H, we create another program B, and this program is pathological program. And what it does is opposite of what A will do. So if you give any input to B, and the input says that, okay, if A is going to run forever, then I'm going to stop it.
Yeah.
So it's a contradiction. So you can't make another algorithm and say that, okay, this algorithm can decide for any arbitrary program that's going to run or stop. So you can't take an algorithm and decide all the problems, because if there exists such kind of an algorithm, then it's going to solve all the problems in this world, all the mathematical problems. Because, for example, I will tell you an example. So there is this thing called Fermat's last theorem, which was that x to x to the power n plus y to the power n is equal to z to the power n. So are there
Andrew Wiles.
n is equal to 2. So the thing is, can you find solution to Fermat's last theorem? And the answer is, if you have an algorithm which can solve this problem, then you will try different solutions and reach to the problem, reach to the solution finally, which is going to solve it. But then, if you already know how this is going to, if you already know beforehand that you are going to stop at certain point, if you're going to make the Turing machine stop at certain point, then it means you already know which parameters are going to give the solution. It doesn't make any sense, because it means all the problems will be resolvable.
Sorry. So if the halting problem is solved, so if we have this algorithm, then we could just try out different algorithms to solve Fermat's last theorem.
Yes.
We just write them randomly, more or less.
Randomly.
We put them into the halting algorithm.
Yeah.
And it tells us if there's one that will stop.
Yeah.
And if we have one that will stop, then we have one that proves Fermat's last theorem by algorithm.
Yeah.
This is the idea.
Yeah.
And so if we would have such an algorithm, we would have a meta algorithm for solving proofs.
For solving proofs, and it doesn't make any sense, because it means problem essentially will be solvable before even you solve them.
Yeah, that's right. But I didn't understand the pathological program. Can you tell that again?
Yeah.
So A tells me of any given algorithm whether or not it will stop at some point.
Yeah.
And now B does the exact opposite of A. So what does B do?
So it's slightly complicated here. So what B does is, it receives any program as an input and sends the output to A.
Okay.
And A was designed to solve the halting problem.
Yes.
But B, what it does is, it does opposite of A.
How do you know what it will do? Because it's feeding the function forward.
A can do only two things. A can either predict when the problem will be solved or not solved, or in the other sense, when the machine will halt or not. There are only two options.
Yeah.
Like stop or not stop.
So A gives stop or not stop. And B switches it around. So if A gives stop, then B gives non stop.
Yeah.
But why is that a contradiction?
Why is that a contradiction? Because in the end, only one thing has to work, right? You can't have two things which are working at the same time. Either the halting problem either the Turing machine will stop or not stop. You can't have two programs which will tell the same thing to do, which will tell the opposite things to do.
I didn't get it. Because, so let's say A.
Uh-huh.
We have A. We feed it a random algorithm.
Yeah.
And A says, look, this algorithm, it will never stop.
Yeah, yeah.
And now B comes in and says, oh, A, you said it will never stop, so I will say it will stop.
I will say stop.
But that's fine.
But the thing is, A is supposed to work for all the programs.
Right. Okay.
And now there is a program which you're devising.
So we feed B to A.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. B is fed to A.
So A is fed the program that has an input to do what A says. Yeah.
Yeah. So A is saying something about B, and you are saying opposite thing about A from B.
Sorry, section. I don't want to highlight this, but I'm just confused. So we have A, and it has an input.
Yeah.
What do we give it? B.
Yeah.
Okay. So and A needs to say yes or no, right? So yeah. Sorry, stop or non stop.
About all the programs.
But in that case, about B.
That also means about B.
Yeah. Okay. But B itself is defined as that it has A.
Yeah.
And it also gives stop or non-stop.
Yeah.
And here we even know the functional relation, so we know that if A stop, then B non-stop. If A non-stop, then B stop. Right? Yeah. That's right. Yeah. Okay. And now, so what we have something like A feeding B feeding A. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so this is impossible. Because here it goes on forever, right? Because then it's A feeding B feeding A. Is this the idea?
That's right. I mean, I don't know what kind of yeah. So rather you can write something like
yeah, so flipping, right? So but I'm still just thinking about kind of in temporal structure. So we start with, what do we start with? Well, already there it falls apart, no?
Yeah.
So what, because,
I mean, we start with either case. You can talk about either this or this.
Yeah, but so what I was thinking is that we feed A some random program, you know, and it says, let's say it says stop, and then we feed B this, and it says non-stop.
Yeah.
And then if you want, we feed A B again, and it says stop, because B always stops, right? Because B just does what A does. And here it's fine. Yeah, there's no problem because this is a random one. Yeah. But if this in itself is B, from the beginning, this is what causes the problem.
This is the pathological.
Okay.
A is supposed to work for all algorithms.
Yeah, but it needs to work for
all algorithms.
Yeah.
But out of all algorithms, they're picking one algorithm and then we need to do a whole thing of it.
Because A is designed to solve for every possible algorithm.
Yeah, that's the problem. That's actually
whether it's logical or not. But of course, B, maybe the algorithm that does always the opposite of what A does, is a possible algorithm.
Yeah.
But if you feed B to A, then we don't know what to do. Yeah. So there can't be an algorithm that goes for us. Come on, man. This is amazing. Should you're on the page?
Yeah.
This is amazing.
Yeah. Thanks a lot for I couldn't explain.
Oh my goodness. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Because not for every possible. But we could say, well, then we just exclude B. For every possible exception.
Exactly. So that will move us to the next slide, which is slide number 3. Mm-hmm. Okay, so now we go to the physics.
Oh my goodness.
So if you see the first column, it says something about shift math. Mm-hmm. So okay, I will tell you history now. So okay, now we move from 1928 Hilbert, 1935 Turing to 1960 ish Lawrence, a physicist I think, who found these systems of equations called chaotic systems.
Chaotic systems.
Yeah.